Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Defran, and I'm a specialist in the history of bottlenose dolphin dorsal fin photo identification. A lot of people ask me, how did you become a specialist in the history of dorsal fin photo identification? Kids at skateboard parks, stuff like that, they want to know. I tell them. I sit in my office quietly and live. And I've seen a lot, and I'm here to tell you about it today. It's a good life, but right now, it's my life. So the history of, people who don't know me are thinking, this guy. So, I guess one of the ways that I come to talk to you today is that I have run a lab at San Diego State University, the Cetacean Behavior Laboratory, and from the very beginning we specialized in photo identification. I had the good fortune to be taught about the process of dolphin photo identification from Larry Hansen at the National Marine Fisheries Service. A good friend of mine, and I always like to give him credit for getting everything started. The photo identification is the latest incarnation of a research protocol that focuses on the details which allow us to recognize individuals. When we were able to recognize individuals in the wild, it greatly enhances our understanding of their biology and their behavior. With such understandings, we get a better sense of population size and survivorship, social structure, range and movement. And before we became sophisticated about taking pictures of dolphins and other wild animals, researchers engaged in marking studies, so they made these animals distinctive and then could take notes and collect data about them. But increasing number of long-term studies showed us that natural markings were persistent and allowed the recognition of individuals, and it wasn't long before taking pictures allowed us to record these, and oops, there we go. So among some of the dolphins, some of the marine mammals that have been well studied using photo identification are killer whales and humpback dolphins, bottlenose dolphins, spinner dolphins. In 1990, Worsig and Jefferson summarized the literature. 1990, this is 20 years ago, summarized the literature and reported there were 166 references of studies that took advantage of natural markings with a variety of species, and of course it has become standard fare for many forms of animal behavior research to use these natural markings and to record them by photographing them. So among the animals that have been well studied using photographic records of distinct markings are whale sharks, elephants, that's a hoof print on the right there. Also tusks are used. As long as you can take a variable, partition it in some systematic way, you're off to the races photographically. White rhinos, African lions, killer whales. This one I loved. Somebody turned barcode technology, so you just step right up, man, and let me zap you. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, giraffes, and of course there's a supposition that many people have about this process of recognizing fingerprints and analyzing them. And it's that same supposition that people have about the way we accomplish the dorsal fin ID. That is that somehow or other we take a picture, we slide it into a machine, it figures it out, and looks through other images that it has figured out and stored, and returns a match or lack of a match. And not so. Usually we need to do some help, and that's true as well for fingerprints, we have the usual way they do with fingerprints is to look at patterns such as arches, loops, and whorls, and then the minutiae within all of these, and then they do a quantitative summary of the relationship. I'll get some new buttons. Between these details, these minutiae. However, for the kind of marine mammals that I study, the beginning, as far as I can tell, has been the work that Bernd Wursig and Melanie Wursig did down in Argentina, studying group size, composition, and stability of coastal porpoises. It really, I can't find a single systematic study of bottlenose dolphins before their work, and so they get a lot of credit for starting it off well. Sorry about that. Begin to tell you how to get back. So the other picture was just gobs of bottlenose dolphins out there in the wild. We take pictures of them. There you go, thanks. But what we're really interested in are the dorsal fins, and when you analyze these dorsal fins in the lab, you're involved in the process of sorting, matching, and cataloging, and any version of that is labor intensive, but particularly so when it's film based as it was originally. And so after we have accumulated all the photos that have been taken in the wild, there are endless hours. I don't even know, I've heard numbers, but hours and hours and hours compared to the time in the field. And that was particularly difficult when you're in a room with a light table and you've been there for hours trying to separate these. The process is like that old game of concentration where you try to find all the individuals that are alike, and then you find the very best one of each of these groups of same dolphin slides, and then you trace them and carry out calculations. One of the reasons why we carry out these calculations is you quickly begin to accumulate albums and albums of slides, and you need to organize them some way so you can tell whether a fin that you're looking at right now is already in the catalog. And so at San Diego State, we came up with a procedure. There have been other procedures where we developed a ratio between the two largest notches and the distance between the bottom large notch and the top, and this allowed us to come up with a number which guided us, but other accommodations included keeping all the dolphins with one or a top notch, and all those that had 2 or 3, and all those that had 4 or more. So once you reduce the number of fins you have to look at, then life becomes easier, but never really easy. So we get pretty cocky about our success out there, and my friend Alex, who is going to be giving you a talk here, if you can't read this, he says, well, they're here, which one should we strap on for today? And, you know, this has spooked me all my career. I kept seeing this kind of dorsal fin in the background. You can barely see it. Then I asked Alex about it. He had a tracing gone bad, so we flipped it over and onto this relatively corpulent there, I might add. Anyway, so the saving grace was digital photography, and there were a lot of developments happening at about the same time. And I don't know that this sometime in the early to mid 2000, people began to accumulate digital photographs, and all of the tools that could be used to generate digital images were at our disposal. Gone was the light table, and gone was looking at a fin with a loop, and then holding it in memory and switching over and looking at another fin. And now you can look at them at the same time. You can organize the fins. You could, oh, I should be doing this, yeah. you can use all the tools that Adobe Photoshop makes available to improve photographs and to manipulate them. And rather than make this a tutorial on the subject, I'm just going to let you take a look at all the things we do with Adobe Photoshop so that we can organize, categorize, label, compare dorsal fins on bottlenose dolphins. And of course, these techniques would work with other species. But it allows us to do a really good job, and there was no parallel technique with film photography that allowed us to do this. Very efficient. We can bend it over, move it this way. So we want to get this to where it's got the same orientation as the comparison, then we move it over to the other side and look at a magic wand tool. I don't know what that's about. I've never had one. So once you have all this information, of course, things still are very labor intensive, but we have all the computer tools and skills and little programs that allow us to organize information into folders and to label them in meaningful ways for our record keeping and comparisons. So this is the process that we go through, we can go through with digital photography. One of the things that we always want to do is get rid of all the nasty photos of sky and the floor of the boat and out of focus so that you look good later. But in the end, the idea is to find fins that are of from the same animal, and then find the best one, and then make that the type specimen, and relabel everything so that you can do your housekeeping, as we call it, with digital photography. How's my time?
Almost to 13.
Okay. So that's the matching process, and then cataloging. We're able to flip images up on, so this would be a comparison dolphin, and then these are the images from a sighting. So we're trying to figure out this guy, we go through all the relevant ones. We have ways of categorizing these fins so that we reduce the number of fins that we look at. But of course, we don't do it on split screen. We have 3 monitors, and it goes on and on. So I would say one of the biggest developments in the history of photo identification has been the development of digital photography, but there are other related technologies such as biopsy darting, in which you shoot a little biopsy plug, retrieve the plug, you can learn about toxicology and genetics, and the camera on this rifle here allows you to get a picture of the dorsal fin and recognize the individual. Greg Campbell in our lab did a great job helping us understand how to evaluate photographic quality and to even refine the job that we do. There are computer programs such as FinScan and Darwin and FinBase, all of which assist us but do not do all the work for us. FinScan and Darwin, you have to trace the film, and FinBase, you need to describe the fin with a lot of characteristics, such as where the big notches are, where the whether there are any tears in the back of the fin that are look like they might be a boat stripe, and on and on. It's a very capable program. One problem with these programs has been that after their development, it's difficult to get them maintained, and as operating systems change, the people who develop these programs are not always available to help refine them. But one of the great enhancements that I like about FinBase is for any collection of individuals that meet certain criteria, you can easily plot and map them out. So I think it's time to wave the tail and say goodbye, and thank you, everybody.